Hello, my name is Dr. Tom Baragry. I'm a veterinarian and a veterinary pharmacologist, and I'm also a veterinary consultant to Provita Limited. And we work with our partner in Norway, 3B Services. So, hello to Norwegian farmers also. I'm going to talk very briefly to you about a Provita product called Lamb Response, which is a potentiated probiotic for lambs, which can be used to prevent E. coli infection, watery mouth as we call it, in newborn lambs, and which also promotes better gut health and promotes better weight gains up to weaning in lambs. And it's a very good alternative to antibiotics. So let's have a look at the first slide.
One of the biggest killer diseases in newborn lambs is watery mouth or E. coli infection of the gut. And this is the number one killer because lambs are born without any immunity, very, very low immunity, and their gut gets colonized with E. coli. So I want to look at that disease and also a new product, Lamb Response from Provita, which is very useful for this condition. As I say, the newborn lamb has very low immunity and there's a very high rate of E. coli infection. And about 50% of total lamb losses occur in the first 48 hours of life. And in fact, 60% of deaths occur within a fortnight of birth, which is very, very high. And most of these lamb losses are due to E. coli. 45% of them are caused by E. coli. Diarrhea and dehydration in young lambs within 48 hours of birth. And the reason here is lack of colostrum and little or no immunity. The lamb may not be able to suck. It may be twin lambs, triplets, less suckling, but also a high challenge of E. coli from the ewe. The ewe could be a carrier or from the environment, and then we have the very susceptible lamb. The product I want to talk about briefly is Lamb Response. This is an augmented or a potentiated probiotic for lambs, and it contains strains of beneficial lactobacilli, very similar to Provita Protect product for calves, and it's also augmented with egg powder proteins or antibodies, and I will mention that again. So it's a two-in-one type of combination there in terms of the probiotics and antibodies, and also has energy and vitamins. The probiotics themselves in Lamb Response work by crowding out E. coli from the gut. We're putting in lactobacilli into the gut and they crowd out E. coli, prevent E. coli attaching and releasing their toxins, and this will reduce the occurrence of diarrhea. They also have a positive effect in enhancing the growth of villi. We get better absorption, better digestion, and better weight gain in treated animals. And curiously enough then, there's a major effect on immunity. And this is new science that probiotics now are seen to stimulate immunity and protection and antibody production. And they can actually enhance the response to vaccines. So the picture there shows you in blue the good bacteria crowding out E. coli. And the lactobacilli in the probiotics change the pH also, which kills the pathogens or prevents them growing. And they occupy the binding sites for E. coli pathogens. So there's better gut health, better digestion, less disease and better growth. What is particularly interesting is that when we put in these lactobacilli into the gut, into what's called the gut microbiome, the microbiome is the keystone for immunity, and this is relatively new science. It's shown that the microbiome, there on the top left, when it's optimized with good or commensal bacteria, they produce short-chain fatty acids. And it's those short-chain fatty acids from the good bugs in the gut which stimulate immunity. And this has been well documented right through the scientific literature now, the immunomodulatory potential of the gut microbiome from these short-chain fatty acids, which are produced by the commensal bacteria, which are caused by the probiotic infusion. So in Lamb Response then at the top we have the beneficial bacteria, the same as in Provita's Protect, and then below the egg powder proteins. Now, egg powder proteins, these are antibodies, egg yolk antibodies, and these are also in the Lamb Response preparation. And these are obtained by immunizing chickens with E. coli, and the chick then produces antibodies in the egg yolk, and these are known as IgY antibodies in the egg yolk. And these antibodies to E. coli have very high affinity and specificity for E. coli and are very effective protective antibodies. And they're produced in high amounts in eggs, and they can be harvested then commercially. So what we do is we take those egg yolk antibodies and put them into lamb response. So we get a huge antibody protection against E. coli. And this is an immediate effect, and it will also potentiate and increase the gut protective effect of the lactobacilli probiotics. So you see there at the bottom the antibody in the egg, and then it's infused into lamb response into the gut. So it's a 2-in-1 type preparation in that regard. And we know that the probiotics as well themselves have a beneficial effect on the immune system. That's well proven in man. And at the bottom there you can see they also have an influence on the immune system in lambs. There's lots of publications on that now also. So this immunity issue from probiotics, apart from the protection against E. coli, as I said, the E. coli infection in lamb is very high and 70% fatal. With lamb response, the probiotic, we're getting immunity through a very different route in the body from those short-chain fatty acids in the gut. And that immune response lasts far longer than the colostrum antibodies. The colostrum antibodies are not absorbed after 48 hours, but the immunity response to the probiotic lasts until weaning, as long as the product has been fed, basically. The effects of probiotics, well, they will obviously counteract E. coli infection and promote gut health. We'll see less diarrhea, stimulate the immune response, which is long lasting. And then we have those egg yolk antibodies to counteract and protect E. coli to give an immediate effect. We have a product, Provita Protect, which is a probiotic in calves, and we have trials on that which has shown less diarrhea and less disease in calves, better immune response, less pneumonia, which is a result of the better immune response, and better weight gain at weaning. That's with Provita Protect in calves. Now, Provita Protect in calves is the same as lamb response. So the compound for lambs we're talking about here is the same as Provita Protect in terms of the lactobacilli. And Provita Protect went through the registration authorities in Europe and was licensed and authorised for the prevention of E. coli. So in other words, we had to submit a big master file on Provita Protect to the regulatory authorities with proof of efficacy of immunity, E. coli control and gut health. So it's a proven product, and in calves we found that Provita Protect had an 80% improvement in disease-free status when compared to controls. There was 75% less incidence of scour when compared to controls, and we had a better average daily gain of 31% with the Provita Protect. So that's the same compound as lamb response in terms of the probiotic constituents. So the effects of various probiotics containing lactobacilli, well, they've been evaluated in lambs also in the literature, and there's quite a number of scientific articles out there proving that lactobacilli in lambs have many beneficial effects. Here's one paper here which showed that the daily weight gain in probiotic treated lambs was improved significantly, and the incidence of diarrhea was 5% when compared to untreated controls, which were 11.67%. So it reduced the incidence of diarrhea by 50%. That's lactobacilli in lambs, reduced it by 50%. And there's a graphic of it there, the diarrhea incidence on the left there, reduced by 50% compared to the negative controls. And on the right then was the weight gains in lambs fed these probiotics, was an extra 12% at weaning, 28 kilogram at weaning compared to 24.9. So the Provita product lamb response, we get this E. coli gut protection coupled with immune response, a long-lasting gut immunity. The egg yolk antibodies provide immediate protection against E. coli, and we get enhanced antibody titers in response to vaccination. And lastly, other papers show that probiotics will benefit immune response. And one paper here by Scott, it was a thesis on probiotics, which showed that, and he stated in his thesis that as the beneficial commensal organisms became established and maximised in the lamb's gut via probiotics, they contributed to an enhanced immune response in lambs, which was shown by higher antibody production. So that was proof of probiotic efficacy against antibodies and immunity in lambs in his thesis. So overall with this product, it's an alternative to antibiotics. It's an augmented compound with antibodies plus a probiotic, controlling gut infection, enhancing immunity, and of course in terms of scar and diarrhea, prevention is always better than cure. This can be fed into the newborn animal. It'll result in fewer deaths, less cost of treatment when probiotics are given. And we know, of course, now that E. coli is showing multiple resistance to antibiotics, and in this climate of antimicrobial resistance, we want to avoid using probiotics. So this is a very good and useful alternative to antibiotics.